The webinar is now broadcasting to all attendees. Okay, let's see if it's recording. According to the cloud, okay. Participants 4. Let's see who is in the game. Georgi, Slavi, Violeta, Milkova. I hope you guys are hearing me well. Let me know if you have any issues, if you are not hearing anything or... Okay, so it should be all fine. So, let me close this. And let's wait for 1 more minute before we hit to the demos. And yeah, let's wait for 1 more minute so that people join, and then we'll start. I'll just take a look at how many people are here. So we have 10 people open. Before we start with the demos, because this session is completely demo-only session, it's not something that will be theory or anything like that. You will see everything live in front of you, so that there is nothing hidden or nothing that you worry about. Before that, while we are getting all together and while we are, the number of people joining is increasing right now. I don't know if you guys know, but we have a full-blown course. We have a full-blown course on PowerPoint tips and tricks, which you can find at academy.356labs.com. It is an insane course. Like, we spent incredible amount of time on it. We have like more than 40 PowerPoint tricks in here that are not, trust me, that are not how to insert a picture or anything. There are some of the things you are learned today, but there are 40 more. So if you want to build better presentations faster, as we like to say, this course is definitely something that you want to check out. So 13 people still, 1 more minute, and we are firing this up. There are people who are coming to the office to listen to the webinar live, which is not going to happen. What? It is what it is. You have to read the instructions, what we wrote at the Facebook event. 15 people, okay, let's see if there is Q&A. By the way, if you have any question related to presentations, or if you have any question related to what you are seeing, please type it in the chat window as soon as you can, so that after the end of the demos, I can go through the questions and answer each and every one of them. By the way, if you also have suggestions on what do you want us to cover in terms of presentation type of topic, let us know, and we'll be happy to cover it. Okay, 30 seconds, and we'll hit it. Okay. So 1 more, yeah, so it's 33, so again, welcome everybody. Let's have some fun. I believe everyone here at the webinar is building presentation and is using PowerPoint. However, everything that you are going to see here is not related. Like, you can use all of the tricks that you're about to see in tools like Google Slides, in tools like Apple Keynote. So these are not tips or tricks that work only in PowerPoint. However, we're going to use PowerPoint as obviously it's the most popular tool on the planet in terms of presentations. This is based on some, like the latest research I heard was at Microsoft, like it was an insane number, like way more than 95%. Again, Microsoft did that research, so we may kind of wonder whether or not that's the case, but you guys know that PowerPoint is very much used. So today we are going to talk about, and I want to show you tricks that can save you a lot of time. All of them are related to photos and images, because I'm sure that all of you include images in your PowerPoint presentations, but I want to show you tricks that will save some images, because sometimes the images that you find are not the ones that you think you may be able to use, but may turn out that are the perfect image for your case. And what's more, I want to show you some other tricks that are related to PowerPoint and to images again, that frustrate a lot of people. Like, they think that PowerPoint is buggy when they see that, but it's not the case. It's just how PowerPoint works. And so I want to save you a bit of time there too. So let's close this. This is the PowerPoint tips and tricks course, which you can find at academy.356labs.com. More than 40 PowerPoint tricks in here. Again, this is not an introductory course. This one, it is for people who are already building presentations and want to become better and faster. So removing this one for now and jumping into the demos. So let's start with demo number 1. I promised you 5 tricks. So let's see demo number 1. So what is demo number 1? So let me show you. That's, as I like to say, that's what you're about to see is an empty presentation. Let me show you. So this will be a completely empty presentation. However, in that presentation, I want to insert an image. Let me show you the image. So that's the image. However, why do I want to share that? Why do I want to use this image? Now, maybe you have been in the following case. Maybe you have been in the case where you want to start a presentation and you want to create something that's beautiful. However, you are wondering what type of image should you use. What's more, once you find that image and once you create the initial slide, the title slide, then once you create a new slide, that new slide is empty one, like it is blank, it is white most of the cases. And because of that, if your image is like that, or if your image has some colors, then you have a problem, right? Then you have a very cool first slide, as you're about to see. More people want to join the webinar live. And then you have some white type of slide that is kind of problem. What I mean here is that if you don't have a corporate template, for example, you don't have the background generated for you and you have to come up with it. So let me show you what I mean. So this image is a completely free image that I downloaded from a website that's called, maybe you have heard it, it's called pexels.com. Really cool website. I highly recommend you check it out because it has some incredible images in it that are completely free. So I downloaded this image from here. So I typed business building. I searched for a bit. And I found, let me see, where is this one? And I found this image here, right? So why did I download this image, and what image do you want for your initial slide? I want you to be looking for an image that has a lot of free space, right? First point, a lot of free space, as this one, and as, let's say, this one, and this one, and this one too. And for example, well, which one? This one. However, that free space I am going to obviously use for title, but also I want you to be looking for images which not only have a lot of free space, but that free space has one color or close to one color. Now, let me show you why I want you to do that. Once I find that image, my recommendation to you is to click on it, obviously, and then use the highest resolution possible. So let me plug that in here. So download the highest resolution possible, and I'll show you why after a second. So I did that already. So let me show you what I'm about to do now. So here's the image. So let's open this presentation. It's an empty one. I'll remove everything, right? And my next step will be to drag and drop that image. Now, first, another lesson in regards to images. Please never do that. Don't stretch the image this way. Don't also stretch the image this way, because you're breaking the proportions of the image. The only way I want you to be resizing images is by dragging from the diagonals, right? This is the only way for you to make sure that the proportions of the image stay in place. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the image on the left-hand side. And because I have so much free space in here, I can actually move the image even more on the left-hand side so that I have a lot more space in here, because that is a building. And now here, I will put my title slide, right? I will put the, I will not put the title slide, but the title itself. So insert text box. And let's say that the topic is the buildings of the future, let's say. What I will do is I'll click on the home menu. I will also make the title with capitalize each word. I'll make it bigger. And for sure, I'll put it in the center and change the font, because I really don't like Calibri. I really hate that font. I hope that you also hate that. So let's use a font that's completely free also, just for the sake of the demo. So the free font that I'm looking to use is Montserrat. So let's use this one, Montserrat Light or Montserrat Extra Light. Let's stick with light for now. Okay. So I'll put the off down here, or actually no, I'll put it here. And this way I can do my title, and then underneath I can, for example, type in my name. However, I'll make it way smaller because the focus is the title, right? So here it is, the first slide that the title slide of the presentation that I created. This is for like 5 minutes of work. It's cool enough. Now, if I move on to the next slide, that presentation will look okay because the background here is almost white, if not even white. However, what I can do also is, let me show you. If I duplicate this slide and I'm looking for a way to generate a background for myself, what I can do is I'll remove the text boxes. But because I downloaded that image in such high quality, I can actually do the following. I can actually remove that building from the slide. You see where the slide is and where the building is now? For example, and especially if the background of that image was not kind of whitish, and I can remove that, thus creating the background for my presentation. From here, once I create that, I'll just duplicate the slides a few times, so I can just drag as crazy, right? Here is the background. If you look at it from this part, you will see a presentation that looks like this. I'll flip. Here's the first slide, and then here is the next one. And this one becomes my background for each one of my next slides. This is obviously if you have freedom and you're in a corporate environment, or if you're not in a corporate environment, then you can do whatever you like with your presentation, right? If you have a template that you definitely have to follow, maybe that trick is not for you. But again, it's extremely useful. Now, the other thing that I can do is actually I can go to this image and I can say, hey, why don't we just crop everything that I don't need, right? So I can remove the building also. And if that background is another color, I can leave it to here and I can just resize, right? I'll show it to you in another example. So let me show you. So this trick, it's white. So let me show you where this trick was used. So here is another presentation. Here is another presentation that I created for myself like years ago. So this presentation is on a technical subject. It has some planets in it. However, if you look very carefully at the image that I chosen here for background, it has some trees underneath, right? However, on the next slides, you don't see those trees. But this is my background, right? Take a look, right? So the question is, how did that happen? Well, let me show you how did that happen. I'll click Control D, which is duplicate, or Control C, Control V. I'll click that, and let me show you what I did. I'll zoom out. And the only thing I did was to grab the image and just stretch as crazy until all of the trees get out of the slide. You see that? So this way, I generate the background for my presentation. And because otherwise, look how it looks. Let me show you the background now. You see, no trees underneath. No trees underneath. And again, the background looks very much consistent with the first slide where you have the trees. Let me show you the effect with the real presentation. So here is the first slide, and here is the next one. See? Very cool way for you to generate background. Because if I'm not able to do that, I'll have to use this one. Take a look. White background. Coming from this slide to a white background, not cool. So this is one of the first things that one of the first tricks that I want to show you. Drag an image from the web. However, take a look and monitor for images. Monitor for images that have a lot of free space. And that free space has to be, hopefully is, one color or like a gradient. So again, let's say business, let's say building, again quickly, and let's move on to the next one. So I'll download any image. So good. So come on, let's go with the search. And while we are waiting, here it is. So let's drag this one, the first one. I'll download it. 6,000 by 4,000 for free. Not even an email required. So I'll download that image. I'll open up a new presentation. Look now. I'll open that new presentation. I'll remove everything. I'll drag the image here. I'll put it on the left-hand side. I'll stretch it until it gets to the full slide. I'm not losing any of the building that much. And then I'll duplicate that slide. And the only thing that I can do is I'll just stretch as crazy. I'll stretch from this angle, look, like this. I can put the transition to fade so that you see it. And from here, this is my first slide. And this is my next one. And all of the upcoming slides are going to use this background. This is how easy it is for you to generate a background that looks consistent with your first slide. It is extremely easy stuff. The other way for you to do that is obviously if you do some cropping, right? If I remove everything that I don't need from the image, like this way, I can leave only with this part. But remember, you always want to download the highest quality possible, because even if I crop the image, this part only is with such a high quality that I can do something that I would otherwise not recommend you do. I can stretch that like this. And again, I have a background that looks consistent to my slides, to my first slide. Very easy trick. You don't have to be a designer to do that. Now, let's jump to the next trick. Let's see if there are any questions in the meantime. Any questions? Q&A? Still not? Okay, brilliant. Okay, not slide, but example number 2 and trick number 2. So let me show you a presentation. Take some water. So let me show you a presentation. This is part of a presentation that we created for a quant. Obviously, that's not the whole deck, but it's part of it. And here we created 2 circles, and inside of those circles, there are pictures. Now, you may say, wait a minute, this is extremely easy to build. These are just 2 shapes with pictures inside. Well, let's see how easy it is. Here is the image that we used. Here's the image. So let's see how this will go. So I'll remove that part and I'll recreate it for you from scratch. I'll drag a shape. I'll drag a circle. I'll press and hold the shift button so that the circle is with proper proportions. I don't know if you know that, but if you hold shift while you're dragging a shape, it has the proper proportion. And now what I'll do is, let's not miss a lot of time here. What I'll do is I'll click on the shape. I'll click shape fill. And from here, I'll just say, hey, insert a picture, right? That's how it should go. I'll insert the picture from a file. I'll go to the folder. Here's the picture, but take a look what happens. And now many times when people see that, people say PowerPoint is buggy, or PowerPoint is like a very bad software. I don't like it. Why is it doing it? What's worse, they jump into some software like Paint and start cropping the image so that it fits this circle. And they crop so that they fix the proportions somehow. They create a new copy of the file, they reinsert it, they see again a problem. Oh, no. It's crazy. Now, what I want you to do is something else. Take a look at how you should do that. If you are inserting a picture in a shape, please don't forget that once you insert the picture in the shape, I want you to do one more step. I want you to click on that picture. I want you to go to Picture Tools. Let's wait for this one. To Picture Tools, which you can see here. Let me just quickly show you the Picture Tools. Click on Format. And from there, I want you to use the crop feature, but I want you to click down here on the arrow that points down. And from here, I want you to use the feature called Crop Fill. Okay, look what happens if I click on this one. Do you see how the proportions of that image changed? Look at the person. Look at the person. it is completely different story. Let me compare. Look. It is completely different story. This is extremely important, especially with images where you have animals on them or images where you have people on them. Because otherwise, take a look at what happens with this person. It's not okay. So every single time when you're using a shape, you insert a picture through shape fill, make sure that you go one step further and you click crop fill to that shape. Otherwise, the proportions will constantly be broken. Now, where did we use this trick? On another place? Well, let me show you. Here's another presentation that we have used in the past for training purposes. It has some cats, or let's go this way, a cat. And take a look at this slide. It's the same slide. So here is the same approach. What we did was, hey, let's use that picture. However, once we add it to the slide, we go and say, hey, crop fill, in order to ensure that the proportions and that cat actually looks as it looks in real life, in the real world. Okay, crop fill every single time. So that's trick number 2. Okay. Now let's move on to trick number 3. So let me show you an example. So I'll open up a presentation. So the first trick was related to how to generate a cool title slide and a respective background. The next is how to put a picture in a shape proper way. And now let's get into this case. Sometimes you work for a company or you are going to be invited at a conference, and the brand or the conference's logo or colors are going to be such that once you see them, you are going to be looking for photos and imagery on the web, but you won't find many that support and that are using the colors of the conference or the brand that you are working for, right? Maybe your logo has some pink in it. Maybe your logo has some green in it. There are not that many photos that have your pink or your green inside of the photos, right? There are not that many. So when people see that, they throw those photos away, saying to themselves, hey, this is not going to work because it doesn't look consistent to the brand. Well, let me show you something that's very, very interesting. So I'll drag and drop this picture on to be second, and I'll put the slide in slideshow mode. So this is the first slide. Now, if I go to the next slide, you see that in terms of colors, those two slides look very, very consistent and very, very as they are part of one big whole thing. Now, the question is, why is that the case? Well, the reason why that is because this picture is actually not the original photo. That picture was modified. So let me show you how it was modified. Take a closer look here. So if I click on the picture and drag, look what happens. There is a color filter on top of that picture. And that color filter uses the orange of the brand. In your case, it may be blue, it may be green, it may be pink. Now let me show you how was this created. Once I created it, then I did a very simple thing. I copy-pasted it on every single slide that I have, because this way my whole presentation becomes consistent, right? And I don't have to be a designer to do that, right? Let me show you, before I show you how it works, let me show you how powerful that is and how this same approach was used in another presentation. Look, the same presentation in terms of topic, right? However, which is the main color? The main color is the black color. I'm using the same photos. Even the photos are the same, right? But look what happens. This time the main color is black, so I have to make sure that the pictures look blackish. So look what happens. See? Same photo, same presentation. This time I just changed the filter to black one and it works again. Let me show you the other photos. Look this one. And again, This one, do you remember this? Look how it looks here. Look how it looks here. It's the same photo. However, it just uses another filter so that it makes the whole presentation consistent. So how was this created? Let me show you. So how was this created? So if I remove this, right? If I remove this, the way I created that filter is by going to the insert button, going to the shapes, and drawing a full-blown rectangle on top of the slide, like this. Obviously, that's not the solution to the problem, right? So I know that Microsoft by default put an outline outside of my shape. So I will remove the outline by clicking on the shape tools and saying shape outline, no outline. So I just remove the border. However, now I will click, right click. I will actually do the following first. I will change the color to the color of my brand or the color of the event, the conference, whatever. So I'll say shape fill, and I will use the so-called eyedropper, right? Eyedropper is a tool that was released in PowerPoint 2013. And you have it if you have like PowerPoint 2013, 16, 19, or Office 365, you have eyedropper. So what is eyedropper? Eyedropper allows you to take color from any object on the slide. However, if you use eyedropper, you will see that I cannot take color from here, right? I cannot take it. Or can I? Now, let me show you how you can take the color from here. I use eyedropper still. I click with my mouse, but I don't release the button yet. I press and hold the left key of my mouse, and then I drag. Look what happens. So now it works. And if I release the mouse now, here is the color from slide number 1. And I can take color, like I can take any color this way, even if it's outside of PowerPoint. And by the way, that also works on a Mac. So my last step, obviously that's not the solution. The image is still behind, but that's not the solution. So my last step is the following. I'll right click, I'll go to the format shape, right? And from here, I'll expand the fill part. And there is this slicer, this slider actually, that's called transparency. So if I drag this one, look what happens. Now many people ask, how much should we use? Like what number should I put in there? Well, I don't know. You have to decide based on your, taste. But for me, I would go high here, like 85 or even 90. Let's stick to 90. So this way, I created a filter. Here's the filter. And now I'm sure that this image looks consistent to the brand or to the conference. Once I create it, I copy paste it on every slide where I need it, right? This way, the whole presentation looks consistent. And you don't have to be a designer to do that. It is that simple. Shape, color with eyedropper preferably, and then transparency. So let me show you something else in regards to the so-called filters. A few years ago, we created this presentation that's being used for an event that we are holding here that's called the Master Presentation Masterclass. And these slides were created by one of our designers. However, when she sent me those slides, I was kind of shocked. Because when I see those slides, I know, especially for this slide number 1, that there is something interesting here. What is so interesting in here? Let me duplicate that slide. I know that this image behind, because obviously that is a filter, right? You can guess how she created it. I know that this image behind does not look like this. It doesn't look like this. I remember the moment when this photo was taken, and it doesn't look like this. Let me show you what I mean. So if I zoom out and I remove the filter, this is the photo. But what do I mean when I say that it doesn't look like this? Let me go and reset the photo to show you the original photo. Wait. So this is how the original photo actually looks. However, what she did before putting a filter on top, she actually used the photo and she made it through the color options here. She made it black and white first. Now, why would she do that? Why would she do that? Well, let me show you why did she do that. Look what happens if you don't do that. I'll go to full screen. And look how the colors are fighting with each other, because the colors are so, like the contrast between the colors is so high, it doesn't look okay. It doesn't look okay. Look the difference when the color behind becomes black and white. Take a look. You see a difference? It is a very slight, you may say, difference, but it's so much needed. And the only thing she did before putting the filter, as you now know how to create for yourself, is she made the photo black and white first. And you don't need Paint or Photoshop to do that. You can even do that in PowerPoint. So again, this is the original, and that's how it should look if she didn't do that. And that's how it looks afterwards. That's how cool that trick is. And again, many times you won't need probably to use black and white photo, but sometimes when the photo is has so vivid colors, you may want to kill them by making the whole photo black and white first. Okay, this is trick number 3. Now let's move on to trick number 4. Do we have any questions? Let's see if there are any questions. Q&A. Not any. Okay, if you guys have any questions, let me know. So let me show you something now. Trick number 4 now. You now know how to generate a background. You know how to insert a shape in you know how to insert a picture in a shape and keep the proportions, and you know how to put filters. Now, this is an empty presentation and I have an image here. This is the image. Now, what are we going to do with this image, and why is this image important? Well, let me show you. This image is, by the way, downloaded again from Pexels, completely free. So I'll drag and drop the image. Okay. I'll zoom out and I'll put the image on the left-hand side. Obviously, I cannot stretch the image this way. It's forbidden. After you watch that webinar, it's forbidden to you to do that. I cannot do that this way. Also, right? It's not kind of cool. However, I also cannot stretch it. Right? Look, I cannot stretch it through the diagonals because I'm losing half of her face. However, that image uses one color only, and that's black, which means that I have 2 options now. I can either do an insert shape, and I can put a shape here and make that shape eyedropper, black, eyedropper, black, and leave it like this. And you will never know that this actually happened, right? This way I'm saving the image. Or I can say, wait a minute, this is just the background of my slide. So why don't I just go to the design tab and change the background of the slide? So I can say, hey, format background. I'll use solid fill, which means one color. And I'll click on the colors. I will just use eyedropper to make sure that I'm picking up the proper color. I'll hover over that black part and I'll just click. And you just save the image, right? Now, that's not the trick. Even though you may consider that a trick, that's not the trick. Now, what is the trick? The trick is related to images that has animals, that has someone staring at a specific direction. If you have someone or something staring at a specific direction, you have to remember something very important. If you are planning to put a text box, text of some kind to that image, you cannot put, not that you can, but it's not okay for you to put the text box here. Let me type in here, please. I'll make it white after a second. Let's stop. Hopefully no one uses clip art angle. So let's make that white so that you see it. Let's make it back. Let's make it Montserrat again, for example. Go like this. I'll put it in the center. And if I put that text box here, not that I can't, let me put it not here. Not that I can't, but it's not a good idea. Because if you look at how you consume the slide and how you and where you expect the text box to be, you actually look for this. Maybe put it somewhere here. See? If you look at this slide, I'm 100% sure that once you see that image, the first place where you look is here, but you don't see the text there. So you are making your audience do additional effort, and that's not a good idea. So instead, once you have an image that has someone or something staring at a specific direction, put the text at the position and at the place where the person or the animal or whatever is staring at. So you can do it like this, right? So let me show you one more example here. How did we use this in another place? Let me show you. Demo 8. So let's wait for this one to open. So here is a slide that we are using internally for a course that we hold. Do you see the problem? Let me go full screen here. Which one do you prefer? Do you prefer this slide or do you prefer this one? You see the difference? And that's only by changing the position of the text towards and putting it towards where the person is looking at. That's how important that is. That's not okay. Okay, this is way better. Way better, and it's a quick fix. Now, where else did you see that trick? Well, maybe you saw it here. Let me show you. Not here, but I'll show it in this folder. You'll see it after a second and you'll guess it. So maybe you saw it here, actually. Let me show it to you before we go into the last trick for the day, for the evening, or for the day for us. You see? Where is the cat looking towards? Where is the text? It is to the play and on the position on the slide where that cat is looking towards, right? This is where the text should be, because I can easily put the text boxes here, right? I can do that, but that's not how it should go. Okay, that's a very important one. Now, let me show you the last trick for the day. So it's a bit more complicated one. So let's stay with me on this one because it's that important. So again, empty presentation. We'll start from an empty presentation. Remove everything. And now insert an image that I downloaded again from Pexels. Okay, this is the image. So I'll drag and drop it here. I'll drag it to the left-hand side. I'll stretch it like this. And I'll put it a bit higher, like this. Okay. I'll crop the image so that I see where the border of the slide is. By using the crop tool, I now see where the border of the slide is. So let me crop here the border. Here it is. Hey guys, hopefully you can hear me now. We had some issues with the mic. We are changing the batteries right now. Maybe it's the batteries, so you should be able to hear me right now. While we are restarting the mic, stay tuned. We are doing one more. Okay, so let's switch back to the original mic. It is this one. So let's move on like this. The sound should maybe a bit not that clear like in the last 2 minutes, but again, let's move on. So here is what we have in here. My goal here is, because I really like that image, my goal will be to do and put a text box on top of that image, right? And I'll put a text that says engaged audience. Let's make that white. I'll make it Montserrat again. I will put it in the center. However, we have a problem, right? We have a serious problem. The problem is that, let's flip the mic, should be okay now. Whether or not it's better now. No. Should be nice here. Okay, it's okay. So the mics are now up. So what is the problem? The problem is that there is white background. Okay, yeah. I saw the question, by the way. We will answer to it after this trick. So we have a white background underneath, and we also have white text on top, and that doesn't work. However, I really like that image, and I really want it for my presentation. So what can I do? Maybe some of you will say, wait a minute, let's just change it to black. No, it doesn't work. Now, maybe some of you will say, wait a minute, let's just use Eyedropper and take the color from the chairs, right? No, it doesn't work. It just doesn't work. So what should we do? Let me show you. Once you know that trick, you know the filters, you know how to generate the background and the shape related stuff, you are set. So let me show you what I want to do. What I want to do is, instead of me throwing away that photo and going on a search for 30 more minutes for a proper photo, and I don't have that time, I want to save that image. So how would I do that? I'll go to the insert and I'll go to the shapes, and I'll put a rectangle on top of this part. The reason why I do that is because I want somehow, if possible, to make the upper part of the image dark, so that once I put the white text on top of dark background, it pops, right? And it will be easily seen. But also, I want to, if possible, I want to modify the image so that you have no clue that the image was modified. So can I do both of those? Can I somehow do both of those things? Let me show you. So let's work on this. So I created a shape on top of the area where I want the image to become a bit darker. So I'll go and hit right click. I'll actually remove the border first, because I know there's a border from shape outline. And I'll go to format shape again, where we went for the transparency. Okay. However, this time we're not using the transparency. Okay, we are not using this one. We are using another feature that's called gradient fill. I'll click on this one. Now, once you click on this feature, you may be kind of scared. At least I remember I was when I first saw it. Because when I saw all of those options here, I was like, okay, this is designers. Now this is in the designers territory. It's so complicated. It looks complicated at least. Now, what can I do? Well, Microsoft is making it harder for us instead of easy this time. So let's make it easy for us again. These sliders here control how the color goes from white to blue. However, you don't need 4 of those sliders here. You need just 2 of them. The one on the left-hand side and the one on the right-hand side. So let's click on your first step when you're using gradients should be always remove any gradient except for the left and the right, and the one on the left-hand side and the right-hand side. So I'll click on this one and click remove. And I'll click on this one and click remove. Okay. Now, what's the next step? The next step is that we agreed with you that we want the upper part to be dark, right? So let's make the upper part dark. How do we do that? Well, I see color here. I see some color here. This color is controlled by this stop as Microsoft color. So I'll click on it and I'll change it from blue color to black color, right? This is how it looks now. Now, we said, wait a minute, we want the dark part to be on top, okay? Well, it turns out there is a button here, the feature here, that's called direction. Well, let's see what they have here. Maybe we need to use this option, right? The black is on top and the black color is on top and the white becomes down. So let's use this one. So we have the dark color now. However, I can easily see that this image was modified and we don't want that, right? We agree that we want to put dark on top so that the white text pops up. But we don't want anyone to understand and guess that this image was modified. So how do I do that? I'll click on the white gradient, which controls this area of the image. I'll click on the white gradient, and I will immediately drag the so-called transparency that you now know about to 100%, making this part of the gradient completely invisible. Because 100% transparency means invisible. Well, take a look at what happens. Do you see the difference? Now, what's the remaining step? Well, the remaining step is to just move the title back. Right. Let me show you. So here's the title. However, we have a problem. What's the problem? Well, the problem is that the title seems like is still behind the gradient that we just created. So what we need to do is to put the gradient backwards, like put it one step backwards, or take the text box and move it forward to the front of the image. So I'll just click on the gradient, go to the home menu, go to the arrange button and say, hey, send backward, which means go one step behind, right? One step behind will go behind the text box in this case. Take a look. You see? And now the text is readable. And at the same time, I didn't throw away the image. So let me show you where this all started. So this is where we started. This is where we are at right now. Actually, this is where we started. This is where we are right now. And if you're asking me, I will go one step further because personally, I don't like this area here. It's too dark. It's too black. Maybe you will like that. I don't know. To me, it's way too much. So what I'll do is I'll click on the gradient. I'll click on the black stop because I want to control this part of the image. Click on the black, and I'll slightly move the transparency of the black stop to, let's say, 10 or 20%, so that it's not completely black. It's not like solid black, but a bit transparent. Take a look at what's going to happen. So that's 20%. So let me show you yet again what we did with you here. So look, if I go to full screen, this is where we started. Completely unusable, completely useless. At this point, people just throw that image away and stop. And they spend 30 more minutes looking for an image. Then we went one step further, did this, which is cool, works. And then we went one step further and did this. So if you see that for the first time, if you ever see that slide for the first time, how would you guess that this image was modified? I doubt that you can, right? And that's how powerful this technique is. And professional designers are using it on a daily basis, trust me. However, it's not that complicated. As a person who is not a designer myself, I know that I can use that trick every single time. And to be honest, you have seen this trick being used already as part of this webinar. However, did you notice where it was? Let me show you. So if I open the last demo here, look what happens. So this is the slide. The question is, where is the gradient? And can you tell, if I haven't told you, that there is a gradient? Well, let me show you where the gradient is. Look. Do you see it? Here is the gradient. Let me show you why do we need a gradient in this one, in this case. Look very closely to the feelings part, how you have white on white. Look what happens and what changes if I go to the next slide, which is the original one that we modified afterwards. Like, take a look. Do you see the change? Again, without gradient, with gradient. Do you see how slight that change is? And yet how much needed it is? Because that allows the readers and the audience to read that one very, very easily. What's more, it allows me to not look for other images and another set of images, because if I didn't know that trick and if I was not able to modify that image, I would actually not only have to look for one more image to replace this one, I was actually going to look for 3 more here and 1 at the back. Right? Because this cat, the images of this cat are this is the same cat shot from different angles and in different situations. So if it didn't work for this image, I had to completely change the concept that I had, which maybe could have lost me hours. Right? So that's how powerful the gradient is. So gradients, filters, backgrounds, putting images inside of shapes. And also, don't forget, when someone or something is watching towards something, make sure the text box is on that position. These are the 5 tricks that you can use immediately, and you don't have to be a designer. And I'm kind of asking you, next time when you're building your presentation, try those tricks, because it will save the day and your presentation will look way, way better. Now, let's jump to the questions. What was the question? I saw a question. So Georgi Zlatev asks, I had one with pictures in circle shapes in Google Slides. I extracted it to PPT and opened it. When I came to the slides, with the first slide appeared, the second showed the same as the first one, and then the whole presentation followed before presenting. Well, Georgi, these are 2 kind of questions. First of all, converting Google slide presentation to PowerPoint, every single time when you're doing conversions like that, you have to be careful. You already know why. We have, in the last few months, we have seen not just once Google slide and the conversion from Google slide to PowerPoint not to work perfectly. So we have seen issues with fonts also, and issues with, I believe it was actually twice with fonts, but different cases. And it was completely like we were not able to understand what exactly was happening, right? It is completely strange. And then we found out that those PowerPoint presentations and PowerPoint files were actually coming from Google Slides, which we believe, as people who just do presentations, is the problem, right? Because once you recreate the slide in PowerPoint, it's completely fine. So the first tip here is, hey, be extremely careful and test in like a ton what happens if you download your presentation from Google Slides to PowerPoint, or what happens if you convert your PowerPoint to Google Slides and then bring it back to PowerPoint, because that is never a good idea. A client of ours, like 2 years ago, had an issue and asked us, why is my presentation not working when it was created in Apple Keynote? They were exporting it to PowerPoint file, and then they were trying to open that PowerPoint file in OpenOffice. And they were asking us, why are there so many problems in the presentation? Well, if you think about it, it's kind of easy to understand why, right? So the first thing is try and test your slides, try and test your presentations way ahead of your presentation, way ahead before you go on stage, especially if you are doing those crazy conversions between presentation tools. Are there any steps I should follow before presenting? Let me know what exactly is the question here and whether or not I didn't answer to that one already, because I believe you put it in the context of, hey, how can I prevent this Google to PowerPoint issue happening again? Because I believe that was the context that you are asking. Are there any steps I should follow before presenting? If you are asking for something else, let me know. Okay, any other question? I don't see any other questions, by the way. In the chat, there are so many. Awesome, okay. No voice at some point, the sound is even better, okay. That is interesting. Hey, how do we keep the size of the presentation small when using those tricks? Stretching, isn't it a bit of overkill? Konstantin Yamali, that's a great question. That is a great question. How can you compress the images inside of your presentation? First tip. The first tip that you can use is go in a browser. Okay. Go in any browser and go to the website called wecompress.com. This website is completely free. Once you click continue in English, they will ask you to drag and drop your file. However, this website has a limitation and the limitation is that it allows files up to 100 megs only. Okay, so if your presentation became larger than 100 megs, you have to compress it in another way first, right? But I doubt that you managed to do that. If you manage to make a presentation larger than 100 megabytes, let me know on my email or on Facebook, and we'll be happy to answer. And by the way, we have a video in the PowerPoint tips and tricks course at our website also in regards to that, so you can check that out too. So WeCompress is the first place where I would go for completely zero money. Completely zero money. These guys are crazy cool. These guys are actually the authors of a tool that's called NX Powerlight, which is paid one. We use it internally inside of our agency to compress PDFs, PowerPoint files, images, etc. It is paid because there are no file limitations in NX Powerlight. The interesting part is that the algorithms that are behind the scenes in NX Powerlight and here we compress, in terms of the compression algorithms, are actually the same. This is extremely cool. So let me show you. I can actually type in the link at the chat. So let me type in the link in the chat so you can get it, guys. Where was this chat? So here is the WeCompress.com. That is the HTTPS actually. WeCompress.com. Try it out. Really cool. Okay, guys. There are no more questions, at least from what I see. Or there is there? Do you have any steps to? Oh, there is one. Do you have any steps you follow before presenting, which helps you have presentations without issues, like what to look for and what may crash? Well, yeah, there are, unfortunately, there are a ton of things that you can do to prepare yourself before going on stage. That is a topic by itself. And by the way, in order for me to answer to that question, I would highly recommend, if you are able to, go check out our Facebook page, because we just published our next open seminar. It is completely free here in our room, but it's going to be also streamed through our Facebook channel. I believe it's when? April 4th? April 9th, I believe it is. Again, free registration. We are talking only in regards to delivering a presentation, and the topic is delivering a presentation like a pro. So if you are able to, come join us here in the room, or join on the chat, and I'll join on the live stream, because I'll be answering that question for sure, and many more related to delivering a presentation. Okay, that will be the easiest part, because again, this is a topic by itself. Like, it is a huge topic, unfortunately, to answer very, very simply. Okay, so I don't see more questions, guys. We're also out of time. Thank you very much for spending 1 hour with us this evening. Hopefully you learned something new. I'm sure that you learned something new. Now the only remaining part for you is to try those things, apply to your presentations, and I'm highly recommending you spending like 10 or 15 minutes trying those things, because again, they will help you build better presentations. And that is, at the end of the day, why you're spending an hour, I believe, here. If you also want to learn more, go check out the online course at academy.356apps.com. We have spent like incredible amount of time recording it, and working on it. It has 40 more tricks like this. And yeah, it is a crazy course which will help you build better presentations faster, as we like to say. So again, guys, thank you very much for being 1 hour with us, and see you soon. Bye. Stop the share. Stop the recording.